Hello, dear friends. We're here, 21 Days with Paul and Stephen, a journey over the book Paul and Stephen by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. This is day 5. Hi, Leticia. Day 5 is about chapter 4. And the question here for us is why we're doing this. Hi, John. So this is all about inner strength for the current times. Soon after the results of the election, the mentors of the Spiritual Side of Virginia, Kardec Radio, have asked us to march together with you. Hi, Anariel. Much love to you. And, it's very important for us to have clear guidelines, guideposts for this journey ahead. Always hopeful. Hi, Julio. Good seeing you here too. Hi, Eliseo. Wonderful friends. And today is about chapters 3 and 4. We're marching to the end of chapter 3, chapter 4. We are learning in the first 3 chapters of this book. Thank you so much, Anariel, for your kindness, for your support, and for your beautiful work. So, we're marching towards understanding the importance of motherhood, of parenthood, fatherhood. The first 3 chapters already talk about how family can define the strength for the soul who is incarnated. So, my friends, wherever you are in this world, let us meditate deeply about the mission of parenthood. We don't have children because it's beautiful, because it's cute, or because it's psychologically needed. We have children because we are in this partnership as co-creators with God, willing to give a hand to other souls in their own journey and receive their help as well. We're together in this. So we are inviting you to read the first 3 chapters again of the book Paul and Stephen that we're studying, to revisit how often Emmanuel as an educator reminds us of the importance of taking to our hearts dearly the mission of parenthood. Please also read Leon Denis, the book After Death, in Portuguese, Depois da Morte. He talks about in one of the chapters about education, and he says, never, ever, 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 ever give your children to the care of others. Never, unless it's extremely needed. So, here in this book, we're learning that Jeziel and Abigail, the children of old Jochebed, defined history for us, creating the new inside of them based on the spiritual foundation that the mother gave to them. The old man dies. The young one, Jeziel, leaves, and Abigail as well. But they are separated. Jeziel, in chapter 3, after being freed as a sick slave, he is recovered since he's taken by the men of the way, the people of the way, Simon Peter. After weeks of sickness, he recovers and he becomes best friends with Peter. Actually, it's beyond best friends because Peter embraces him as a son. But before they do so, they have this beautiful dialogue, and I am in chapter 3, page 81. Nearly in tears, Jeziel read the Sermon of the Mount, aided by Peter's heartfelt recollection. And the Sermon of the Mount is about the Beatitudes. Blessed are those who are meek, for they are going to inherit the earth. Here we have a recommendation by Jesus that we should observe above any and everything else. It's an observation through which our ego is going to be dissolved in the waters of selflessness, and we're going to be more compliant to God. Be meek. What is to be meek? It's to know that we're here because God wants us to be here. Isn't that what our guide and master taught us? We are here in this life because God wants us to be here. So I need to ask every day, what do you want me to do today? What should I do to comply with you, my Lord? That's the kindness. And let's not forget, God is love. And when we hear the words of Jesus in the Sermon of the Mount, we nourish our souls. And here we have, they began, Peter and Jeziel, comparing Christ's teachings with the prophecies that had announced him. The young Hebrew, Jeziel, was highly moved and wanted to know about the smallest episodes in the Master's life, spiritually uplifted and happy. Simon tried to satisfy him. Jesus' generous friend, Simon Peter, so misunderstood in Jerusalem, experienced a gratifying joy at having found a young man who was so enthusiastic about the examples and teachings of the incomparable Master. And Jeziel said, Ever since you took me into your house, Peter, I have noticed that you share principles unknown to me. So much concerning helping the unfortunate represents a new lesson for my soul. The sick who bless you, as I do now, are words of this Christ, whom I did not have the good fortune to know personally. And Simon replied emphatically, the Master used to help all who suffered, and he commanded us to do the same in his name. Period. This is important for us. Hi, Louisa. Let's read it again. The Master used to help all who suffered, and he commanded us to do the same in his name. Mentor Joseph every day repeats to me, Vanessa, don't lose sight of those who are suffering. Forget bureaucracy. Forget unfruitful discussions. Forget the tightness of creating too much bureaucracy. Do the work, because we are united with other people like Jesus. Jesus never created any organization. He never created a temple. We have spiritist centers because they are hospitals, schools of the soul. They are not true Orthodox churches where we're going to repeat hierarchy, where we're going to repeat those meetings that don't allow us to do what we have to do. I know some places where people, to discuss if they're going to give bread to the poor, they have to do a board of directors meeting. Order is important, but when we are too uptight, too rigid, we're just like the Pharisees, discussing too much, doing very little or nothing, thinking that we're doing a lot and forgetting about those who are suffering. So these 21 days with Paul and Stephen is a reminder for all of us of the center of life. Jesus is our guide and model. The governor of the planet Earth is calling us in this post-election time, saying, do not worry about Caesar. Focus on those who are suffering. And the first question of the day, who is suffering in your life? Don't worry about you now, because that doesn't work this way. It's not us first. It's others first. Question: who is the person who is suffering the most in your network? Do you know? Who is that person? We need to find out. We can't wait for people to come to us and humiliate themselves, because sometimes we're ashamed of sharing what we're feeling. But we need to create. You know, neuroscience shows that empathy is felt, and we activate areas in our lobes here, more or less in this area, almost like antennas, where we capture what others are feeling. The more skillful you are to understand people's feeling, the more these areas activate, the more altruistic you are. So can we work on it? Yes, we can. And you're right, Louise. Our kids are the ones who are suffering the most. Why? Because we're delegating our missions to others. Hi, Rita. So, you're right. Kids are the ones who are suffering the most. Our youth is the one that is suffering the most. No wonder the American Counseling Association published an article talking about the escalating levels of suicide in middle school. What are we doing to help? What are we doing to help those who suffer the most? Give a hand to parents, friends. Let's give a hand to parents. Parents need, more than ever, a village, an international village. We have the Spirit is Support for Parents, spiritisparenting.org, as an international coalition. But wherever you are, if you see parents around, and if you're a parent, you know what we're talking about, give parents a hand. Because it's the challenge of all times, and we're only going to change the world when we create a new generation. And we're saying create, quote unquote. It doesn't depend solely on us, but we are co-creators. And Jeziel said, according to the instructions of the Leviticus, every city must have outside its gates a valley for lepers and people considered unclean. But Jesus has given us a home right in the midst of those who follow him. Friends, are you opening your home to those who are suffering? We come to a sense of isolation nowadays in the United States of America, in which we become so selective that we forget to open the doors of our homes even to those who are closest to us. It's so funny. Thank you, Rita. One more day together. It's a blessing, full of joy and love. Thank you. So Jeziel felt moved and wept that loving and good Christ hanging on the cross of human ignominy was the personification of all the heroism of the world. How relieved he felt in realizing this. How do you feel? How do I feel? Think of Christ. When you think of Jesus Christ, what comes to your mind? Because you know, we think in pictures. We don't think in words. When people tell us words, we decode in pictures. And our brain, when it decodes in pictures, we have to then translate it into words again to reply to the person. So when we say Jesus Christ, what comes to your mind, to your feelings? A man at the cross? A preacher? A judger? Somebody who is just say yes and doesn't know how to say limits, give boundaries and knows? How do you see it? Hi, Adilson. We need to feel Jesus. And Jesus feels to us like Jeziel is describing. He's describing to us. He's relieved. That's why Jesus said, promise, I'll send you the promised consoler that will stay with you until the end of times. Relief. Are you carrying the world on your shoulders? Don't need to. If I am, don't need to. Everything is taken care of. And we're doing our part. Look at the tree. Look at any tree. Is the tree worried? And the tree is also a creature of God. It's a living being. The tree is not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. As Jesus said, if you look at the birds in the sky, they're not concerned about tomorrow. And if you look at the flowers, they're doing their part, knowing that we're part and connected to everything and everyone, and everything's going to turn out all right. And there is no greater pain than the pain that was felt by Mother Mary, Jesus' mother. No one on this earth will ever experience this. Losing her son to injustice. She didn't go crazy. She didn't get depressed. She didn't get any other feeling. She was apprehensive. Umberto de Campos has a whole chapter describing her emotions during the Passion. Of course, she couldn't grasp everything, but she was so faithful to God, so trusting God that like Jezeel and Abigail, they fulfilled their part. So if you don't know what to do, how to help the world, just focus in front of you. Who is in front of you? Don't look around. In front of you. Right there. Oh, nobody? So it's you. So focus on you. On you. Love yourself. Let's love ourselves. You know, the physical body, you know, I'm moving to a new home these days. Physically tired, but deep inside, happy that I'm here with you. And it's okay. It's part of life. We may not be sleeping as much or eating as needed or doing things as we need, but we're fulfilling our duties of love. Duties of love. Of love. We take care of ourselves. We tell ourselves every day because we're creatures of God. And Jesus said, love God above everything and love your neighbor as yourself. So we need to love ourselves, to love our neighbor, love God. And I say this figuratively speaking because it's not that God is up here above our heads. God is everywhere. Right? There's even a song that was brought by the spirits at the Spiritist out of Baltimore when we were there at a mediumistic meeting. G-O-D, God is here. G-O-D, God is everywhere. G-O-D, God is here. G-O-D, God is everywhere. Etc. Everywhere. And I look at me. And I exercise every day. I love myself. I love and approve of myself. I am a child of God, and so are you. You are a child of God. I am a child of God. Who isn't a child of God? And Jezeel is learning that Jesus is teaching us that there is no one on this earth who is not sacred, who is not divine, and Jesus brought to us. How do you feel, my friend? Let us feel how we feel it. And he kept discussing emotionally. You have revealed to me, Simon Peter, the light of the world. So forgive me for having revealed to you my sufferings, which must have been just. You have the sunshine of the Savior's words in your heart, and you shall inspire my poor life. The apostle embraced him and said, I think it prudent that you remain anonymous because of his history. Hi, Valeria. My friends, how much do you embrace people in your life? We need to express our love more and more every day. Jesus was so loving that when he called, says in the book Good News by Humberto de Campos, through Chico Xavier, he says, when he was calling John and his brother who were at the beach, saying, come and work with me for God. They came, they held his hands and kissed Jesus' hands, and with the other hand, he caressed the curls of John's hair. This is Jesus caring. Can we picture it? Caressing. Man to man. And it has nothing to do with sexual orientation. It's love. Divine love. But we need to express. Some people say, I don't say I love you because it suffices just being here and doing what I do. Hi, Angelita. Actually, it's important to say and to express. It's important to hug. It's important to caress. Did you know that one of the most powerful senses that has a very large representation in the cortex is touch? And when we touch and caress, we're releasing endorphins that calm us down and diminish our pain. Many diseases we're experiencing nowadays is due to the lack of this expression. Not only that people don't give to us, but we don't give it to ourselves. How often do you caress yourself? And I'm not saying this in a sexual way, but saying, you know, you're beautiful. What a beautiful body. Not in a sensual way either. Because these cells that form the physical body are not us. They are working with us and for us. It's the pet of all pets. How do I know it? André Luiz, in the book Evolution into Worlds, he talks about our cells being like little animals. And we would say kindly, little pets. And little pets that we care. Not going to the extremes, but caring for it, but loving it, appreciating and saying, you know, thank you so much for helping me today. For giving me support in this reincarnation, dear body. Thank you, dear cells. And we become good commanders-in-chief of the physical body. This is love for God's creation. This is not simply our creation. We're co-creating the body, but it's God's creation too. Thank you, dear body, for working so effectively. And when we go sick, we work with it. Instead of being upset and anger and saying, I'm cold, I have a cold again. I can't believe I thought I was doing better. Oh, physical body. And it's kind of, we want to punish it. But we forget that the body is just fulfilling our commands blindly. We tell the cells, I'm feeling angry. And the cells respond to that vibration. So we can't return to it and say, how come you're sick? If we vibrate health, we're gonna manifest it. But remember, for many lives, we have not vibrated health alone. So sometimes now, we are resenting the results of centuries of unhealthy thoughts, like a star in the sky. You look up, the astronomer takes the telescope and says, oh, beautiful star. And for me, the ignorant person, oh, where is this star? And the astronomer says, not there any longer. Well, how come I'm seeing the light? And the astronomer says, well, but the light is traveling through the universe. You're seeing the light that was emitted light years away. but the star is no longer there. It's already dead. That's us. Many lives, many thoughts, many feelings, many words, many actions. We sent it to the universe, and it's traveling. Reincarnations away, now the physical body is experiencing it. So we go to the doctor says, this is the diagnosis, and we're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? What have I done? But I was so healthy. I was taking care of my things. And my friends, it's the byproduct of many lives, but it's a blessing in disguise. Because it's flushing out the disturbances. And André Luiz says in the book, Evolution into Worlds, that the predispositions to diseases begin when we make a grave mistake and our conscience creates blocks, crystallizes those vibrations, says, no, this file needs to be revisited, creates nodules of vibratory disturbance that is only flushed away through reincarnations. The blessed body filters it out. Blessed body. So we embrace it and say, thank you very much for purifying my heart, my spiritual body, helping me reorganize my emotions, my feelings. And like Jezeel, we're going to be easy in the hands of the educator of all educators, God. And feel the relief that Jesus came to us and showed us that everything passes. That sooner or later things are always going to progress. All we need to do is to keep ourselves faithful, serving, and observing our inner selves. So there is a moment at the end of this chapter in which, chapter 3, marching to 4, Jezeel, deeply moved by encountering Jesus, he turns to Simon and says, you know, I feel so transformed already that I'd like to take another name. And that's when he is, quote unquote, baptized by Simon Peter, given another name, Stephen. He says, so that you do not forget Achaia, a Greek region, where the Lord deigned to seek you out for his divine ministry. I shall baptize you into the new creed with the Greek name, Stephen. Jezeel, Jewish name. Stephen, Greek name. Now we embrace Stephen. Stephen has the attitude to lead us into this time post-election. Focus on those who are suffering. The ministry of God helping everyone. The joy, the courage, and the hope of living. And listening to the song of the Christ in our ears every day. Soothing us, encouraging us, calling us every day. When you wake up, it's Jesus saying, good morning. Come with me. Let's work together. Let's serve God today. It's a song because the sun rays, the rays of the sun, they are the byproduct of the beautiful thoughts of the pure spirits who meet there. Says Allan Kardec in a footnote in the Spirit's book. So next time the sun shines through us, we say, thank you, Jesus, for the invitation. Christ, like spirits, the team of Jesus the Governor, is waking us up. Let's not run away from it and say, good morning. Good morning and good work. The work that Stephen started doing. In short time, Stephen became famous in Jerusalem for his miraculous deeds. He started helping people around. And soon after, he became famous. His healing heart became the vessel of Christ's infinite joy. And then we meet the other character of the book. 3 first chapters, the old Joshadeb dies, the new Jeziel comes, takes over his ministry to God, towards Jesus, with Jesus. Now, in chapter 4, Emmanuel is going to introduce to us another important character in the book. And it's not a character, it's a personage. It's actually a person who lived on the earth. Paul. Actually, Saul, on the road to Joppa. So he's inviting us to the trip. Let's take our car or the chariots of the time. And he contextualizes, he says, we are in Old Jerusalem on a clear morning in the year 35 AD. That's the morning. The sun is shining. Inside a stately building where everything exudes the comfort and luxury of the time, a young man appears to be waiting patiently for someone who is late. So you see, my friends, hi Karen, I hope everything is fine. Thank you, Leticia. So now we march from the soothing conversations, enriching moments between Stephen and Peter. And he introduces to us to the patricians and also to the great elite of the Hebrews of the time. We're going to meet Saul and we're going to meet Zadok, his friend. Zadok, Saul's friend, had arrived in the city after a week of exhausting travel and was now waiting for his friend Saul for the affable embrace of their long friendship. And he describes how Saul is coming in. He says, so we picture it, in a small vehicle resembling a Roman chariot and pulled by 2 superb white horses, stopped in the front of the door. In a short time, Zadok and Saul embraced each other effusively, overflowing with joy and youthfulness. The young Saul displayed all the vigor of a single man bordering on 30 years of age. On his face, full of virility and handsome manliness, Saul, with his Jewish features, stood out particularly in his deep, penetrating eyes, characteristic of indomitable and passionate temperaments, rich in intensity and resolve. Dressed in a patrician tunic, he preferred to speak Greek, which he had learned in his hometown of Tarsus, in the company of his much-loved teachers educated in the schools of Athens and Alexandria. So they start talking, and they start talking about their daily lives. And Saul was extremely cheerful as he told his friend that he was in fact in love with a young girl of his race, who combined the gifts of uncommon beauty with the highest treasures of the soul. Her devotion to home life was one of her holiest female attributes. And he's describing Abigail. Can you believe it? Jeziel was sent to slavery, freed, became a follower of Jesus, met Simon Peter, took the name Stephen, and is helping in the city of Jerusalem. Meanwhile, the camera of Emmanuel focuses now on Saul, his friend Zadok, and the fact that he's dating Jeziel's sister. She is looking for him. She doesn't know where Jeziel is. And in this chapter 4, we are introduced to the habits of Saul. A life in which he focuses in serving God. But you know how he's serving God? Like a Pharisee of the time. And the question is, today, the quiz of the day. We love quizzes, right? Quiz of the day. How much of a Pharisee am I? How much of a Pharisee am I? So we need to know the definition we are using here. When we say Pharisee, we mean somebody who learns one thing and does the other, but thinks that he's always right and everybody else, and is always being judgmental, and is always stuck in the external performances. We, people in general, need to ask ourselves, especially spiritists. The good spiritist is not the one that does talks, runs spiritist centers, that creates spiritist events. The good spiritist, says the Gospel according to Spiritism, is the one that works to transform his bad tendencies. Inner transformation. Thank God. I don't need to give any talk to be a good spiritist. I don't need to run any spiritist center to be a good spiritist. I don't need to have any position whatsoever. I don't need to write any book. But of course, serving God may mean to fulfill those tasks. The positions come and go. Hi, Leonore. Thank you, friends. But that's the quiz of the day. How much of a Pharisee am I? From 0 to 10 in our scale. 0 being not at all, and 10 being quite a lot. How much of a Pharisee do I have? Pharisee trait do I still have inside of me? Am I stuck thinking? I'll give an example to you. 19 years ago, I met a man named Jorge Godinho Neri, who is the current president of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. I invited him, he didn't have any position at the time, to help us form the center in the Spiritist side of Baltimore. 1998. He came along with his adorable wife, Antonia Helena, and we formed a group. He kept supporting us. Later, he helped us with the Spiritist side of Virginia, though at a distance, and now the Spiritist group of Washington, and everything else. Throughout these 18, 19 years, he kept coming and visiting us here. Many people know he was visiting, never cared for it. Now that he is the president of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, people care about his presence. This is a Pharisaic trait. Because now I care about something I didn't care before. This is to be a Pharisee. That's a problem. It's a huge problem. Because now not only we know of Christ, but he came back, is lived back through the teachings of Spiritism, and we're still the same. Caring about positions more than the work. He's adorable, he hasn't changed, though he's fulfilling that position because he knows he's at service. But how many of us still behave like the Pharisees, asking for blessings because people are temporarily fitting in some positions? In our center, people don't know we're the president of the center. It doesn't matter. It matters that we help those who need help. That's all that matters. We don't even have board of directors meeting. Only once a year. Why? Because we have to do what we have to do. Discussing what to do doesn't go anywhere. Says Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, when we discuss charity too much, we forget to fulfill it. Yes, my friend, it may sound radical, but actually Jesus is radical in his love. He doesn't love us more or less, as Chico Xavier used to say. He loves us completely. And he teaches us to love. There's no bureaucracy. We need to have organizations to support our growth, but not be stuck in rigidities, not be stuck in temporary hierarchies, because actually they don't exist. As Mentor Joseph often says, because of the elections in the United States, He says, Vanessa, bless and respect those who are temporarily in leadership positions. But remember, only God has the power. People may be deluded thinking that they have the power. They are the most powerful person in the world. And actually they don't know that the power comes from God and is with God in God's hands. We already know it. Nobody has the power. Only God does. No one else. But Saul didn't know of it. He told his friend Zadok, I haven't changed. I am still willing to take Athens and Rome and understand the law of Moses. Thank you, Adilson. Thank you for supporting and being with us, validating it. Let's see our guided model. Our guided model never wanted to force anybody to do anything. He never asked anybody to come and ask for his blessings. Oh, Jesus, please bless me. How many people do this to mediums nowadays in Spiritist movement? Oh, I'm going to buy a new home. Divaldo Franco, what do you think? Should I buy this home? Jesus never taught us that. We have straight connection with God. Oh, but the medium XYZ have a straighter connection. I've never thought Jesus said that. He equalized our connection with God. He cut the middleman, including himself. Isn't that funny? He was so humble that he said, you have a direct connection with God. You can do everything I do and much more. And he cut the middleman. Everyone, including him, he said, okay, I'm the pathway, the light, meaning, listen, like a good teacher said, listen to the instructions. But he didn't say, depend on me. Depend. Of course we depend on Jesus. He is our shepherd. But he doesn't make himself the essential element. He says the essence is in God. He said, I came here to fulfill God's will. I came here because God sent me. He never said to anybody, hello, everybody. I'm the governor of the planet. You have to listen to me. Remember. And why do we behave like this in our families? Telling our children that we are the ultimate authority. Who is the ultimate authority in your family? Second quiz for us. I say kindly. Quizzes. I like quizzes, okay? If you don't, forgive me. But the goal is to ask ourselves, self-knowledge. Second quiz. Who is the ultimate authority in your family? You? Your spouse? Your parents? Grandparents? Who? What would be the answer? God. God is the ultimate authority. Who is the ultimate authority in our workplace? Your boss? His boss? The president of the company? God. I remember working at the University of Maryland and having meetings at a time of critical financial crisis. And everybody was desperate, like, oh my God, almost like out of breath, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? They're going to cut jobs. Fire people. And Joseph said, Vanessa, if they just knew the laws of action and reaction, the law of mercy, God's compassion. It's of justice, but of kindness too. Don't worry, trust. Because God knows who needs to go, who needs to stay. And those who go will find a new way. It even rhymes. And he always said, emotional contagion is very dangerous. When we start feeling what everybody's feeling, we're not helping. How do we learn to be shielded at a time in which everybody's like, desperate? Breathe physically, but spiritually. Raise our thoughts to God, as Jezeel and Abigail did when they were in prison. They know that God is loving, and God disciplines those whom He loves. Hi, Felipe. It's very important to feel it. Who is the ultimate authority in your life, my friend? That's an important question. We can only love God above everything else when we think that God is the ultimate authority, dictating the next steps, so we fulfill them. So we need to open our hearts, and it doesn't take anything, any course to do so. It just takes a good willing heart. No wonder Jesus said goodwill is the key for those who follow the good news. We need to have goodwill. Goodwill, give direction to the will of life. Leon Denis, in the book After Death, he talks about will, and he says will is the driving force of the soul. So think of a car, the will. It's our will. The will of the car is our will, the spirit. Goodwill means good direction. If I have goodwill, give good direction, I fulfill God's will. That's all that is. So I open my heart to be benevolent towards everyone, to minimize the shortcomings of other people. Be kind, in spite of people's limitations, including ours. And forgive offenses, including ours. Self-charity, charity. Self-charity, charity. Self-love, love. Self-charity, charity. That's the movement. But Saul didn't know that, my friend. And now, our dear Emmanuel is calling us to revisit the old man inside. So very proud, thinking that he is going to do what he wants. And he gets to know that there are some crazy people following a carpenter who was crucified. And there is a man named Stephen who is preaching and healing people. And he's talking to Zadok and Zadok said, well, I visited this charity house and it's extraordinary, but odd. Abandoned children find care, lepers recover their health, infirm elderly and the people down their luck rejoice in comfort. And then Saul asks in his pride, surprise, but the sick, where are they kept? And Zadok replies, they always stay with this incomprehensible man. And Saul of Tarsus says, they are all crazy. That's what happens still nowadays when we do the right things, even in the Spiritist movement. Divaldo Franco completed more than 60 years of work in the Mission of the Way. Hi, Felipe. And I remember him saying to me, Vanessa, my cousin Nilsson and I were young, 20 years of age, when we received the vision by Joana de Angelis and we created the Mission of the Way. And I remember even Spiritists saying to us that we were crazy. Spiritists saying we were crazy. Valdo Vieira, God bless his heart, he's discarnated, was good friends and worked side by side with Chico Xavier. And he himself had a moment in which, like so, he said, this is crazy. It's too much humbleness. It's too much, hi Vanessa. It's too much, caring and being simple. The ego, the soul within did not want to give in. So that's the third and last quiz of the day. how much of a prideful, egotistic soul, S-A-U-L, do we have inside of us? How much of it? 0 to 10. How much of this trait of ego-centeredness do we have inside of us? If a voice in your ear say, go and hug your mom because she is not feeling well, will you go and hug, or you say, am I crazy? What if she's not feeling anything? What is she gonna think? She's your mom. Do you need an explanation or a reason to express your love? I'm gonna give you a hug because you're doing great, Mom. What? When Jesus called and asked the man who was on the tree and says, climb down, I'm gonna be in your house. The description of Humberto de Campos says that Jesus walked arm in arm to the man's home. And he didn't say, you know, I'm doing this to you because now you're behaving well. He didn't justify his loving care. That's God. God doesn't say, I'm going to give you the breast today, so it's another chance for you, okay? There are many parents who are like this. They need to justify themselves while they're embracing, they're kissing their children. I'm going to give you a kiss. Why? Oh, because you behaved well. That's crazy. So when Saul is finding, so he's surprised that this men of the way are taking care of people who are sick. It's a question to us. How much of that trait do we still have inside of us? That we need justifications and rationalization, excessive rationalization, to actually express affection and to be loving and caring for one another. Jesus did not create statements saying, I am hugging you, I'm blessing you, I am healing you, because he just did what he had to do. When we follow through the divine, we just do it. We just do it. We just do it. God doesn't write every day saying, the sun is gonna come down one more day for you. I'm not sure it's tomorrow. He just sends the sun, and I say this figuratively, and it's there. Like Emmanuel describing Joseph, the father of Jesus, saying, he is the representation of this divine presence, apparently silent, but deeply present. We need to learn how to be more silent in our thoughts, in our mouth, but be fully vibratorily present. So that's an exercise for us as we wrap up our encounter today. You want to exercise today? I do too. It's the gym of the soul. Okay? So Emmanuel is inviting us. Let us exercise today this divine presence within us. Let us be with people in our lives sometimes for 5-15 minutes today. Be silent, mouth. Stop the current, not stop thinking, but the questioning. Just be mindful, focus. Focus on listening to your breath and visualize yourselves emitting what God is saying to us. You don't need to create anything. You just let it flow through you. Divine presence. You're right, Marcelo. It's very hard to be silent because we're not perfect, but it's important to practice. As a good teacher, you're a good teacher. You know, exercises are fantastic opportunities for us to master skills. Let us exercise and see how it feels. And visualize this flame of light whom we are. And emit what God is sending us. That's it. Accepting everyone. Enjoying being in the moment. Like we are here. I'm enjoying being with you. I know we are enjoying being together. Thank you for your beautiful thoughts. Thank you for being together. And let us share the good news that God is everywhere and we are being called to a new person inside of us. The young person in us lives and rejoices in God. A big hug onto every one of you. Much love, my friends. Until tomorrow when we finish chapter 4 and march towards chapter 5. When Saul is meeting Stephen, it's when our old man is facing the new. What's gonna happen? We'll see. Lots of love.